people will tell you, whether you've asked for their opinion or not, that modern supercars have it all wrong. They've all got too much assistance on board, they're all too heavy, and everything should have a manual gearbox. Well, if that sounds like you, I've got good news. Noble have built you a new car. This is the Noble M500. And I reckon this is the world's simplest supercar.
They don't come along very often, do they, Nobles? About once a decade, really, we get one of Leicestershire's finest. There was the M12 in 2001, the M600 in 2010, and now there's this. And the M500's mission? Well, it's to satisfy the kind of people who said to Noble, yeah, I'd like to buy an M600, but ideally, I'd like to be alive to tell people about it afterwards. So, while the M600 used a mad twin-turbocharged Volvo-derived V8 to deliver a 650 horsepower, 220 mile an hour wallop, the M500 is quite unusual for a modern-day supercar. Why? It's got less power than the old model, that's why. And as a result, it's not as quick as the car that came before it.
That's right, under here, in the engine bay, there's no big old Volvo V8 anymore, no. This is a Ford EcoBoost V6, so you get twin turbos. It's not quite the same engine as they put in Ford GT. This is actually closest to what you get in the Raptor truck, but you still get over 500 brake horsepower, all of which arrives at these 20-inch rear wheels with a little bit of traction control in the middle to help you out. Problem is, when you want to stop, the M500 has no anti-lock brakes.
But we'll actually come back to the mechanical bits and bobs in a moment. While the M500's parked up, we need to have a think about how it looks, because no matter how much you prefer your supercars medium rare and simple, styling does matter.
So what do we reckon? Well, for me, I think the M500 is quite a handsome car, if a bit angle sensitive. But there are quite a lot of details cribbed from other cars, aren't there? Have you spotted a few of them so far? This? Yeah, you're right. Headlights from a C7 Corvette, and taillights, they are from a Citroën C4 Picasso. Now, we could take the mick out of that, but I don't mind. If Noble are spending money, well, on how the car drives, that's where it should be spent. And so what if they buy some headlights that are homologated in the countries they need them to be, and it saves them some time and money? That's fine by me. What about this? Come here. Was there a suggestion box in the factory asking everyone what their favourite supercar was? I think there might be. Big flank here, full on gas and Chiron. This brake in the intake, quite McLaren 12C. And then remember I mentioned 4GT earlier? That's not a 4GT engine, but we have got some 4GT flying buttresses blending round into a kind of Lotus Evora-ish rear wing, and where all the details come together at the back, that's where I'm not keen. But I have to say, this thing has got a huge amount of attention to it. That's why I've run away to an old military base for some privacy, and every time someone has stopped us and gone, wow, what is it? They always guess a really huge price. Noble wants to charge 150, probably under 200,000 for this, but all the guesses we've had to pass by have been way over £250,000. So you'd have to say the M500 definitely looks exotic enough, and might be more practical than you think as well. Bear with me. Let me just reach in here. Oh yes. Pop open this huge bonnet. Fine. I mean, that is a decent sized boot for a British cottage industry supercar, right? And that's not loose wiring in there, by the way. That is a convenient plug, so you can connect the trickle charger over the windsill. I mean, engine detail, practicality, British can do it as well. Sort of. That's what I was in here briefly. Let's have a proper look around. Let's get my other leg. Oh yes. All of you who think that supercars are too complicated these days, this is what you want, right? It is pretty, I wouldn't say basic in an M500, let's call it focused. Everything's covered in dark Tara, you've got stitching, in fact it's like, wait it up, you can see the screens come to life, so quite a bit there. onto it, and then this slowly applied control, so if I put it into the screens, they don't just feel all the buttons from before. Turn the engine while I'm talking to you. There are some 4 buttons to go that for the indicator store, the lights, the locks, but ultimately, are people expecting it to be as close as a Ford Murray 250? I don't think so. Let's get the basics out of the way. How much headroom I've got? 6 feet tall, I've got plenty of space, I've got nicely trimmed armrests. Look at that, there's the handbrakes, no gear levers. We'll come back to that. Problems, I think, are just the packaging. I'm 6 foot tall and there's nowhere for my left leg to on the button. A little bit on the steering column round here, and this is as high as the steering will go. I can't quite see all of the red light. You can see it at 2,000 RPM, and then I can see the red light. So that might be in a moment when I keep crashing through the red light. Anyway, we go for a drive. Okay, now I've got something to get off my chest right away. This M500 is the prototype. The prototype. Noble's not a company that we're called to have a fleet of cars testing in the Arctic and Death Valley all the time. They've got this one in the world, and it has been built to do the hard yards. So, it's been hand-built basically, and that means you see some dodgy panel fit. That's why. I have to say, I've driven British sports car prototypes and customer cars that are way worse off than this for build quality. I'm really impressed. I haven't got any squeaks or rattles. But the fact that it's a prototype means there are quite fine lines. For example, grow up, talk to people. Right. For example, the M500 you're sitting in now, it's a bit heavier than the customer cars will be. This one's about 1,400 kilos because of some thicker fiberglass panels. The customer cars, they reckon they can be 150 kilos lighter. And, well, they're going to be rocket ships because this is not slow. Oh no. What a feeling. Boost is unbelievable. Now this car might be a prototype, but it does stick to some core Noble principles. So the chassis, no expensive carbon fibre tub. This is a steel space frame, very similar to the one that was in the M600 actually. Over that go your fiberglass panels, and there are no driver aids really to speak of. There's a little bit of traction control, but I'm not sure I'd lean on it. There are no anti-lock brakes, there is no airbag. There's also, as you might have been able to hear already, something going click-clack in here. You see, this car, because it was supposed to be the everyday Noble, was originally going to have a dual-clutch, flappy paddle gearbox. But as you can tell now, Noble decided to go for a manual. And I'm very glad they did. You see earlier, you know when I was being a bit rude and pointing out all the bits that are on this car that were nicked from other cars? The gearbox is also one of them. I'm not going to play the long bit about that. They've actually taken the Graziano 6-speed manual gearbox that you used to get in an Audi R8 or a Lamborghini Gallardo. Don't believe me? Look ahead of the engine bay. Have a look at the gearbox painting. It's got an Audi and a Lamborghini badge on it. And that means that this shift is glorious. And what a unique selling point for Noble. It doesn't just have to compete on being cheaper than the rest. It's got something that no other supercar, no other mid-engine car at all, has now got. It's got a stick, and for everyone who's saying, oh, I wish more cars were manual, here is your car. They've done it. Put your money where your mouth is. Okay, the throat's a little bit long, I maybe like it a bit further back down the transmission tunnel, but I am nitpicking. The noise is so evocative, the mechanical feel to it is beautiful. As you can tell, I'm already just shifting for fun. If this car had pedals, I'd instantly not be enjoying it as much as I am with 3 pedals. And this lever here, it is fabulous.
Strength above all.
Now, since we're on a bit of a quiet road, I'm going to break the rest of the car down and tell you what I can about it. So, what do we start with? Got the steering. So it is power assisted, but there's a lovely amount of feedback and communication coming back quite heavy. Quite unusual for a supercar now, that, isn't it? Everything's got super light, darty steering. This, you get quite a lot of response just off kind of straight ahead, and then as you tip the car into a corner like that, it really does weight up, and you've got something to really ride into. Kick back, and yeah, now and again the car is competitive, but I'm still not really loud and set to go watching it. I actually think it's a great compromise for a British road. Sticking through here. Know exactly where the front end is. Yeah, hold on the steering. Probably. Think about the engine. Now you see that? That's a V6. That is not the most naked crippling noise in any supercar. It was never going to be, was it? The M500 is not an engine car, it is a chassis car. We're going to come on to the chassis. It's all good news. But the engine, what I like about it is that this is a car that celebrates the fact that it is turbocharged. That's very noble as well, going back to their earlier cars like the M12, which had this hilarious wastegate chatter. This has got the same thing. I don't know if you'll be able to hear it, I don't know if the microphones will pick this up, but the boost builds, there it goes, and then you just get that shunter on the overrun, and then I quite enjoy that. It's not as fun as chasing a 9,000 RPM redline, but compared to a lot of the other turbocharged sports cars and supercars, Porsche 911 Carrera and Ferrari 296, they're always trying to hide their turbocharged with those super clever torque maps for every gear and variable range, whatnot. Never fall out of the boost zone. In this, you do. Plus, when the boost comes in, bang, there you go. It is not as linear as you're used to in a modern supercar. There's a bit of lag, and then bang, it really, really whacks you with it. You've got to be awake to that, but that's all part of this car's character, I think. Whereas the Italians, they want a delicate, grizzled turbo lag onto your wheel, a razor, just caressing it down. This is like having a lump of cheddar slammed in your face. Okay, it's not subtle about it, but it is still enjoyable. Okay, and now the M500 electric is the chassis. Just the way it goes down a road and round the corner is beautiful. It is right up there with the best of them. Lotus, Alpine. In fact, yeah, Lotus is a good comparison because I feel like Lotus, if you're going to build it in a point, you know, new supercars don't bother. This sort of nicked it from under your nose now. The body control and the compliance, the way it just gets on with a road and just deals with pretty terrible British tarmac is sensational. Honestly, I cannot believe it, particularly for a prototype. It's McLaren-like, except McLaren, they use, you know, hydraulically cross-linked, actuated, adaptive dampers. This has got something called a shock absorber and a spring. And it's literally as good as a 720S down that road. It's a stunning achievement. This goes to show what can be done with old school engineering, like with the turbos, like with our friend down here, the gearbox. It is super, super satisfying. And yeah, okay, the interior I might not want to say today. With this chassis, burbling along, let me take something else. Visibility, really good out the front. It's quite narrow. What I really like is the way the design of that bonnet falling away, the top to the front wings and therefore where the front wheels are, perfectly sighted. That is exactly what you need when you're placing a mid-engine supercar on twisty roads. Decent view in the mirrors, back window, not so much. But then this, you know, screen gubbins here, I have no idea how the radio works, but the reversing camera bit. No understeering exactly at all. Oh, the British can build some really, really good stuff out of other people's leftovers. We are the ultimate dumpster chefs. Now you're probably expecting me to root quite hard for the home team here because I'm British, car designed and engineered in Britain and therefore, you know, what, I'm going to be all patriotic about it? No, I think that, well actually, it really winds me up when people out of some sense of duty to the king give the likes of Aston Martin, Jaguar, or Lotus a bit of a free pass when the car's on the track. They might failing out of the price in 10 minutes. But yeah, I hope I'm doing fair. This Noble is not finished. It's a prototype. There's bits and bobs that they need to work on. It's here. But that doesn't mean that this car doesn't have a place, doesn't have a purpose. So you get this out for it's the manual gearbox and senses are being developed brilliantly with the ingredients they've got. It's absolutely worthy of being the entry-level analog supercar. Your poor man's Gordon Murray C50. I'm not expecting it to be an everyday car despite the big boot, even if they do sort the air conditioning out. I don't think that when the M500 does enter production, you know, the used market will be swamped with Porsche 911 Turbo. I still think that this is a great sweet spot for Noble to be in. They've tried doing sports car, the M12, they've tried a full-on super hypercar, the M600, but this, the M500, that golden automotive for them. Anyway, so it does work out. All the people out there, all the people who think that supercars have a manual and no driver aids, you've got to go out and buy one. I think you should.
Has destroyed a turret. Your team has destroyed an inhibitor.
In the early hours of an August Monday in 1911, Vincenzo Peruggia sits huddled in a dimly lit staircase at the Louvre. His face is dripping with sweat as he quickly removes his white smock and wraps it around a small painting. A painting he isn't supposed to have. A work that he believes belongs in Italy, not France. What he carries out of the back doors of the Louvre is the Mona Lisa. Italian painter Da Vinci's Renaissance masterpiece. This isn't just any painting, it is the painting. The stunning portrait of Lisa del Giocondo is largely regarded as one of the greatest works of art of all time. And that fame is in large part thanks to the theft by Vincenzo, which caused the world to give a new focus to the painting. What the world saw when it returned to France 2 years later was that smile. A smile that was the result of Da Vinci's dedication to learning science as well as art. His knowledge of facial muscles guiding his hands to paint her elusive smile. The painting would be one of the world's greatest meetings of art and science. Nearly a century later, a machine would grace the cobblestone streets of Italy that was again a combination of engineering and poetry. The creation of a man who crossed great oceans, worked his way up from humble beginnings, and stood up to the world's supercar titans. What he created would be an orchestra powered by 12 cylinders. A beautiful sculpture made of composites. The Pagani Zonda was a modern masterpiece. A supercar that stood on its own. As Lamborghinis became stale and old, and Ferraris became clinical and boring, Pagani Zonda spilled its colorful paint across the streets of Italy, and breathed life back into Modena. This is the story of a breakthrough performance from a true virtuoso. A tale spun of carbon fiber in 95 octane virtuoso. This is the story of a breakthrough performance from a true virtuoso. A tale spun of carbon fiber in 95 octane. This is the story of Horatio Pagani's opening act.
I'm not big on sermons. Broken bones teach better than
It all started with a very simple dream. Create a revolutionary sports car,
One that no one really expected, motivated by a powerful engine made of advanced composites, cutting-edge brakes, and advanced suspension, a car that was truly a technical marvel. Horacio Pagani's Zonda is a work of art, but I'm not actually talking about the Zonda. I'm talking about the C6 Corvette. This one right here. The first Corvette to have some real fucking power, and the first one that I'm giving away on this channel. That's right, the giveaway is back, and this time...
Between his music lessons, he would read racing magazines and carve his favorite cars out of wood. And in those magazines, he learned about the Italian city of Modena, where the world's most beautiful sports cars were bent from steel and aluminum, the holy Italian temples of Maserati, Lamborghini, and Ferrari. Maybe it was the half-Italian blood coursing through his veins, but Horacio knew that he would one day call Italy home. And there, he would make his own cars. Throughout his teenage years, Horacio fixed things for locals in his workshop. The work within those walls would refine his skills and push him to develop a core philosophy. With his hands, he would create art, play piano, carve wood, and bend metal. And with his mind, he would engineer, repairing machines, building bicycles, and designing dream cars. Like Leonardo da Vinci, Pagani would seek to combine art and science. By 1973, Horacio had set off for college to pursue majors in both engineering and art, all the while running a successful business back home, creating a variety of products like bar stools and campers. But in the late 1970s, he finally got around to fulfilling his passion, creating a car, the best kind of car, a racing car. Horacio penned the aerodynamic body of his Formula 2 car with confidence, but he lacked the engineering know-how to build an engine for it. So he reached out to Renault, which was one of the few companies with any presence in Argentina at the time. With his designs in hand, he demanded Renault give him an engine and allow him to be part of the Renault factory team. They acquiesced. Their results in Formula 2 were not earth-shattering, but it was still an impressive feat for a college kid to build a competitive racing car. And this being the late 1970s, everyone was looking for another Gordon Murray to appear. Renault saw in Horacio that same spark, and reached out to Horacio to get him more involved. To break the ice, they brought with them another Argentinian, Formula 1 champion Juan Manuel Fangio. Horacio and Fangio became fast friends, and Horacio signed on to the Renault team as a design consultant. To inspire young Horacio, his new friend took him all over to meet the heads of Fiat and Mercedes, whom he'd driven for in the past. For Fangio, it was a chance for him to pass on his decades of racing knowledge and an excuse to party with young Horacio. For Horacio, it was his first real experience with rubbing shoulders with the automotive giants. This experience was the final straw. Horacio knew what he needed to do. And in 1983, he packed his bags and moved to Modena. He arrived in Italy with no real prospects, carrying a tent, a bicycle, and most importantly, 5 letters of recommendation from Fangio. He would take those letters to all of Italy's finest sports car companies, begging for a job. But he was turned down by Fiat, De Tomaso, Maserati, and Ferrari. Last on his list was Lamborghini, the makers of Italy's most beautiful machines, a perfect home for Horacio and his dreams of femininely shaped sports cars. But they too said no. With nothing left to lose, he showed up at Lamborghini's door anyway, and they begrudgingly gave a young man his dream job. Young Horacio enters the hallowed halls of Italy's finest supercar building, Automobili Lamborghini, the shining icon of Sanagata Bolognese. As he stands surrounded by the men who built the 350 GT and the Mira, he stares with mouth agape, stars in his eyes, and a broom in his hand. Horacio Pagani is now the official janitor of Lamborghini. Every morning he would climb on his bicycle, leave his little shack on the outskirts of town, and get to work cleaning up cigar ash and oil stains in the shadow of machines he could only dream of designing. Dirty, crummy job or not, his passion had not waned. With hard work and patience, Horacio soon found himself rising through the ranks. Thanks to his wealth of experience shaping fiberglass back in Argentina, he got a spot on the new composite materials team. Their first project was creating the bodywork of the wild, way ahead of its time Italian war machine, the LM002. a massive Humvee-like truck. It was a pretty weird departure for a sports car brand, and the V12-powered off-road beast was a critical failure for Lamborghini, but it was a career boost for Horacio himself. He had proven himself to the higher-ups of Lamborghini, and even befriended famed test driver Valentino Balboni. His next task then was to finally work on a real Lamborghini, restyling and adding composites to the unloved Jalpa. By 1987, his dreams were on the cusp of finally being realized. He was a chief engineer overseeing the composites department and had become obsessed with a new material called carbon fiber, a strong, space-age composite material that had proven itself on the racetrack. Horacio wanted nothing more than to build the new special edition Countach out of the revolutionary material. All he needed was an autoclave, and his team at Lamborghini could get to work. The heads of Lamborghini, though, didn't really give a shit about carbon fiber. I mean, after all, Lamborghinis weren't racing, and Ferrari didn't build carbon fiber at the time, so why should they? You ever work for a boss who just doesn't get it? I sure have. That was not ideal. Anyway, when you work for an out-of-touch, lazy, and uninspired boss, sometimes you have to just do it your fucking self. To prove he was right to Lamborghini, Horacio went to the bank and took out a gigantic loan and bought his own autoclave. Now, for those that don't know, an autoclave is basically a giant oven and a vacuum chamber used to form and strengthen molded carbon fiber. They're massive and expensive machines. And Horacio just showed up one day with one at Lamborghini. Working with sheets of carbon fiber and developing new techniques from scratch, Horacio and his special composites team would build the world's fastest Lamborghini, the Countach Evolution. An oddly shaped but stunning tech demo made out of carbon fiber, Kevlar, and aluminum. The use of these new materials allowed Horacio's team to shrink the weight of the Countach to less than that of a Mazda Miata. And it was still powered by that massive Lamborghini V12, meaning this new Countach was capable of hitting 60 miles per hour in nearly 4 seconds and soaring to over 200 miles per hour. It was a concept car that was faster than the fastest car in the world at the time, the Porsche 959. It wasn't pretty, but it was proof that Pagani knew what he was talking about. He was fervent in his belief that these new materials were the future of sports cars. But Lamborghini continued to ignore him, and probably because they were flat broke. The thought of building cars out of more expensive materials using huge autoclaves likely scared the heads of Lamborghini away from the idea. It was the late 80s. Supercar sales had plummeted. Even though at the time, Lamborghini was a small company, they just couldn't pivot to a new way of making cars. This, of course, frustrated Pagani. His philosophy was that cars should be both beautiful and functional at all costs. They shouldn't be designed with profitability in mind. He didn't care if anyone bought them. He just saw sports cars as art, worthy of existing just to exist. After struggling with trying to push the Italian bull in a new direction, he shook hands with his engineers, packed up his autoclave, and left. What was it about carbon fiber that drove Pagani to leave his dream job in pursuit of its use? His dedication to the material was probably thanks to his lifelong mentor, Juan Manuel Fangio, who was perhaps the most unlucky racing driver in history. Fangio had been a magnet for automotive disasters throughout his entire automotive career. He drove off a cliff during a rally in 1948. The accident killed his co-driver. A few years later, he'd be thrown from his car at Monza. Then, in 1955, he drove for Mercedes-Benz at Le Mans, and we all know who that was. He was even kidnapped in Cuba. Fangio was unlucky as sin, even when he wasn't driving. In 1981, Fangio was invited to Italy to be the guest of honor at the Monza Grand Prix. There, the newly constructed McLaren MP41, driven by John Watson, spun off the track and smashed into a barrier.
That's John Watson, and a very nasty one indeed.
It was the kind of accident that most drivers in the 80s wouldn't walk away from. Miraculously, Watson climbed out of the remaining half of the car unharmed. The secret to his survival was that the MP41 was the first to be built with a carbon fiber monocoque, meaning that the driver sat safely encased in a nearly indestructible cable. That shell kept Watson safe in the crash. It also kept the car lightweight and rigid, and it started a trend that continues to this day. Fangio and the rest of the racing world learned one immutable fact that day. that the future was to be made out of carbon fiber. Now at the time, it was not an easy material to work with. McLaren themselves had to send their design off to Hercules Aeronautics to have them build the carbon fiber components, because no one in racing actually knew how to work with the stuff. Translating the technology to a production road car would take a genius. Now, in 1987, Lamborghini had one such genius at their disposal, Horacio Pagani, but sadly, he was ignored, and Lamborghini would lose the race to build the world's first carbon fiber supercar. That title would go to Jaguar with the XJ220. And then, of course, in 1992, Gordon Murray and the McLaren F1 would shake the industry forever. Murray's singular focus on weight savings meant that he had to build the F1 out of advanced composites like carbon fiber. The result was a car that had incredible stiffness and, of course, unheard of speed.
It will not go any more than 391. But anyway, 391 is quite fast, isn't it?
And it was proof to the world that Horacio was right all along. As McLaren F1s began to go on sale in 1992, Pagani got to work on his own supercar. Pagani drug his carbon fiber autoclave all the way to Modena, Italy, and opened up his own shop. Initially known as Modena Design, this new firm rapidly became one of the world leaders in carbon fiber design and production. Out of the doors of its factory came parts for Ferrari's Formula One team, the Aprilia MotoGP team, and touring cars around the globe. Horacio quickly made a name for himself as a guy that could make fast cars faster. If you were a race team in the early 90s, you wanted what Pagani had to offer. Somewhere between consulting with the company that he left behind on their new Diablo and building top-secret aircraft parts, Horacio called up his old friend and mentor, Juan Fangio, and told him to come over and help him out. It was time for him to finally follow through on his master plan to be Modena's next great car maker. He would codename the project C8, after Horacio's wife Cristina and his love of the Mercedes C-Class race cars. To begin, Fangio and Pagani took everything they learned about racing and building race car parts for others, and applied those concepts to a radical new car design. Its outward appearance would come from Group C racing. During the 1980s, Le Mans cars were getting low, aerodynamic, and incredibly fast, screaming over 200 miles per hour down the Mulsanne, and prompting race officials to add in the now famous chicanes, just to slow them down and keep things safe. Pagani was inspired by the beauty of these low, aerodynamically sculpted race cars. He also says that he was inspired by women sunbathing on the beach, which, really embodies the ethos of Italian car design. His flowing sketches then would be a combination of his two favorite artistic inspirations, women and race cars. The racing inspiration didn't end with Group C though. During the early 90s, Nissan had taken their speed wedge, the Z32-300ZX, and turned it into a fire-breathing Le Mans champion, the 300ZX IMSA GTS. Horacio took notes. After all, it was a fast car, and he was designing a fast car. So he added some of the advanced aero bits from the Nissan to his own drawings. Then, from his consulting with Lamborghini, he added large, single-piece body panels and large doors to his designs, perhaps remembering how hard the Countach was to get in and out of. Thanks to a partnership with Renault to build new aerodynamic carbon parts for their race cars and the wild Espace F1 concept, he had learned important lessons in structural designs. Every day he would walk around his workshop, talk to Fangio and Balboni, and make improvements on the design based on what he experienced. Eventually, he had the basic shape worked out on paper. But before he could start to work on the actual plans, Project C8 needed something very important, a beating heart. The choice was obvious. Group C cars had V12s, so the C8 would need a V12. With help from Fangio, who, remember, was a race car driver for Mercedes-Benz, Horacio went to AMG and asked them for an engine. Even though he knew they were making a higher performance engine, ones that would eventually power their flying race car program, he humbly asked for lower spec 6-liter V12s, the same kind used in the sedans. Mercedes agreed and promised him just 5 M120 V12s from their warehouse. This is where the differences between Horacio and other car designers are exemplified. Gordon Murray demanded that his V12 make more than 550 horsepower, and was upset when BMW wasn't able to shave an extra 20 pounds from the block. Horacio just wanted a V12, because all the best race cars had a V12, and the fact that it was a 400 horsepower sedan motor didn't really bother him a bit. Pagani was much more concerned about how it sounded. His mother had taught him to play the piano, and that love of music never left him. The harmony of 12 cylinders singing in unison is enough to move any heart. far more important than a few extra horses. Finally, all that was left was to combine all of the pieces together and give it a name. He would call the car the Fangio F1, after the driver who had been by his side from the very beginning. Sadly though, in the final stages of building this beautiful tribute to his friend Fangio, disaster would strike. In the early days of May 1995, Juan Manuel Fangio passed away from health complications. His life, a colorful tapestry of racing history, and his passing, a crushing blow to a man named Horacio Pagani. After a period of intense mourning, Horacio returned to his office to continue the project they started together, but could not, in good conscience, name the car after his mentor so soon after his passing. Project C8 continued without a name for years, and finally in 1998, after the car had been in development for 6 years, Pagani took a prototype back to his home country of Argentina. There, in the Andes Mountains, winds could reach speeds of over 150 miles per hour, making it the perfect place to perfect a car's aerodynamics. The local population has a name for these blistering gusts of air: the Zonda winds. Blessed by the spirit of his homeland, the C8 came back to Medina with a new name: the Mystical Wind, his wife Cristina, and 12 cylinders, the Zonda C12. And at the Geneva Motor Show in 1999, it was revealed to the public. It was a pretty brave decision by Horacio to create an entirely new supercar in the late 90s. McLaren's F1 had raised the bar for everyone in the industry. Ferrari and Lamborghini were becoming titans. A new supercar would need to be something truly unique to stand out amongst that noise. Luckily, unique is kind of Pagani's whole thing. In 1999, you could buy Lamborghini's Diablo, a massive, beautiful supercar with a roaring V12 that was 10 damn years old and had Nissan headlights. The Zonda, meanwhile, was a bespoke sculpture made of space-age materials. And since there would only ever be 5 of them, it didn't matter what it cost because they were already priceless works of art. Nothing about the car was ordinary. The engine cover is held down with a leather strap, which complemented the custom luggage bags flanking that beautiful carbon-trimmed Mercedes V12. The Zonda's gaudy interior makes your Rolex look mundane. Giant toggle switches stab out of an aluminum dash, flanked by suede and leather, or whatever other material you wanted, since each C12 was a completely custom hand-built machine. The pedal assembly is machined aluminum custom fit to your driving position. The seats were designed to conform to your body like an Armani suit, except made with better materials. Vents for the air conditioning resembled rocket motors, and unlike most Italian supercars of the time, they actually kept you cool. And finally, everywhere you look on the inside is that amazing lightweight material known as carbon fiber, reminding you that not only is this car a truly beautiful thing to behold, it's also an engineering marvel. But of course, it's a supercar. How did it drive? It did only make a meager 400 horsepower due to that pedestrian Mercedes V12. But it was light and it was aerodynamic, so performance was on par with what you'd expect from Italy's finest. But if you were judging a Pagani Zonda based on how fast it was, you were missing the point entirely. You don't judge the Sistine Chapel by its seating capacity. The Zonda was so much more than just another fast car. Contemporaries of the Zonda, like the CLK GTR and the Diablo, were downright hard to drive. The CLK was difficult to get into, hard to shift, and angry. It was a race car, it cared not how comfortable you were. The Diablo was a lead weight passed off as a car, its focus entirely on aesthetic beauty, little care given to its user experience. The Zonda, thanks to its ultralight construction, opulent interior, and absurd amounts of torque, was a dream to be in and drive. You could shift from first to fifth and accelerate away, a trick Horacio was proud to show people. To drive it, you didn't need to be a race car driver at all. And like the McLaren F1, because of the carbon fiber body, it didn't need ridiculous brakes or advanced driving aids. Any ham-fisted moron could enjoy the drive. Then, at the end of your Sunday drive, it was a car that you could park in front of the Louvre and get more attention than the paintings within. Despite the staggering price of nearly $300,000, which is well over $500,000 today, 57 buyers demanded a Zonda C12 of their own. Pagani now had a huge problem. They only had enough resources to build 5 total, and one of them had been used for testing.
So it's our first Geneva show. We wandered into the show and just discovered Pagani, and we just couldn't believe this car. The first time we saw it and the magic ingredients, we couldn't understand how this car came from nowhere. And as we've watched the progression of Pagani, we all know we're now with Zonda R and Cinque. It's just been the most amazing 10, 11 years of progression. And he's really brought this company right to the fore and competes with the really big boys.
The consumer response had at least proven one thing. Horatio was right all along. He had proven to his old bosses at Lamborghini that he knew how to build a proper goddamn car. With that newfound confidence, what followed was pure insanity. Some designers would be happy with a one-hit wonder, they'd watch their car rise to greatness, and make a bunch of iterations for 10 years, and call it good. Instead, Horatio Pagani chose to constantly improve the Zonda, always looking at the flaws, listening to feedback, and altering the design. Following the 1999 release of the C12, he immediately got back to work. A year later, he was back in Geneva. This time, Pagani Automobili had a couple more employees, and they set about building a brand new Zonda, the Zonda S, now powered by a 540 horsepower 7-liter V12. Similar to the one found in the infamous CLK GTR Strassenbahn. It had sport-tuned suspension and an additional gear, meaning now, if you felt so inclined, you could shift from first to sixth. And the higher displacement engine was more than happy to keep you going. The C12S changed the Zonda from a competent supercar into a proper hypercar, with a top speed well over 200 miles per hour. A year later, there was the S7.3, which made even more torque. It became more modern, more behaved, thanks to traction control and ABS. That was followed by the Roadster. Usually, when a car becomes a convertible, it also becomes overweight, limp garbage. The Zondas being made completely out of carbon fiber, though, meant that the chassis stiffness was unchanged. The base car was stiff enough not to need reinforcement. The brilliant Roadster was followed by the Pagani Zonda F. There, in 2005, Fangio's name was finally affixed to a creation by Pagani. The F was extensively re-engineered. AMG had managed to force out an astonishing 600 horsepower out of their V12. It had Inconel exhausts, like the McLaren F1, Brembo carbon ceramic brakes, and since Pagani was now at the forefront of carbon fiber development, the Zonda F had a new type of carbon fiber called Z-Prep that weighed less but was stronger. A special edition Pagani Zonda F would become one of the fastest cars around the Nürburgring, beating the Ferrari Enzo. It even beat the Bugatti Veyron around the Top Gear test track. This performance, of course, wasn't really Horatio's focus. He once said that speed makes you lose sight of what's important to you, that as you drive faster and faster, your vision through the windscreen gets narrower and narrower until all you can see is the road. And he wanted you to see his car. That apparently didn't stop him from building faster and faster cars anyway. Case in point, the Zonda R, a special track-only Zonda, a completely new car that shared only 10% of its parts with the street car, rumored to be built as a testbed for the upcoming Huayra. It was such an incredible car, it had birthed the Zonda Cinque, the road-legal version of the Zonda R. They both had paddle shifters capable of shifting in less than 100 milliseconds and were made of a new substance. Pagani had to remain one of the leaders of the carbon fiber world, so when it came time to upgrade his darling Zonda, Horatio chose to pioneer the use of carbotanium, fusion of carbon fiber and titanium. There were only 5 Cinques produced, Cinque being the Italian word for 5. But that wasn't exclusive enough. Art loses all meaning if it's repetitive after all. So following the Cinque was the Tricolore. These were Zondas that were tributes to the Italian aerobatics team, and there were only 3 of them ever built. Each one sold for a mere $1.5 million. In 2012, at the Goodwood Festival of Speed, Zonda showed the world its fastest creation yet, the Revolution, with the newest iteration of Mercedes V12 making nearly 800 horsepower, double what the original C12 made. Like the R, it was only meant for the racetrack. And like the R, it was also followed by a road-going version, the HP Barchetta, one of the most stunning Italian cars ever built. Like many Paganis, the Barchetta is not painted. There is simply a blue lacquer added to the carbon titanium body, showing to the world the beauty of the material that Pagani pioneered so many years before. It is rumored to be the last iteration of the Zonda, and in classic Pagani style, only 3 were ever built. 1 has been crashed, and 1 is Horatio's personal car. a worthy gift to himself for crafting a symphony of incredible machines for over a decade. Each one unique and each one an improvement over the last. Every single one of them uniquely Pagani. With the trio of Barchettas unleashed upon the world, Horatio had finally painted his first masterpiece. A beautiful, colorful painting of what supercars were meant to be. Moving pieces of art. Not just soulless machines with space-age technology and lifeless designs, but elegant, flowing, impactful devices that demand attention and speak to the unique visions of their creators. Today, we are entering a new era of fast cars, where the engineers, not the artists,
This is the Audi RS e-tron GT, a car I know very well. We've already brought you a full review from our first drive up in Scotland. We've compared it head to head against its brother from another mother, the Porsche Taycan. But this is our new long-termer. We got this car in because we wanted to find out what it's like to live with on a day-to-day basis. So with that in mind, this is our real-world review of Audi RS e-tron GT. Okay, first things first, it's Monday morning and I am in desperate need of a little pick-me-up, a little caffeine injection. So I'm gonna head to a local artisan coffee spot that I know around here. But I thought I'd start the review on some nice, normal roads, driving around in town. Do you know what? The first thing I've noticed is that it makes even mundane journeys feel quite special. You could be commuting in this car and it would feel like almost a privilege, which I suppose it should, because it's quite an expensive car. £86,000 for the standard e-tron GT and over £117,000 for the RS version. When I compared this car to the Taycan, I noticed that the Taycan had noticeably better suspension, and driving this in isolation, you don't really notice that it's not quite as good as the Porsches. It's set up to be slightly softer, the air suspension kind of is designed to float along the road, and even though the vertical movement isn't quite as well controlled as in a Taycan, it's actually quite a nice ride. It feels great just driving around. Here's something I don't talk about regularly in my reviews, crash testing. It's not a mandatory thing for manufacturers to test their cars according to Euro NCAP testing, and Audi actually hasn't independently tested this car with Euro NCAP. However, Porsche has. The Taycan scored 5 out of 5 stars in Euro NCAP testing, so you can pretty much guarantee that because underneath they're essentially the same car, that the Audi is going to be safe as houses as well, reassuring. Something else I don't talk about regularly, but I will today, insurance. It's going to be expensive in this car. It's in Group 50, which is the highest possible group. I actually looked up last night how much it would cost to insure me to drive this car, and the lowest price I could find was £2,100, but most prices were coming out at around the £3,000 mark. Sure, you're possibly going to save money on charging the thing, but insurance, yeah, that's where they sting you. The final thing I want to talk about is maneuverability. So this car comes with rear wheel steering, and that has several benefits. And I think the major one is that when you're driving on narrow roads, you can do U-turns and 3-point turns really, really easily. Even though it's not a small car, it feels a lot more maneuverable than you might think, given its size. Right, let's go get that coffee. I need it after that insurance price. Okay, so here we are at the local coffee place. Coming into a McDonald's is always kind of tricky, especially in a low-slung car, because they have these quite abrupt curbs that can do a lot of damage to your wheels if you're not careful. But one of the things I really like about this RS e-tron GT is the 3D parking system, which lets you get a 3D view of everything around you. One thing that bugs me about this though is that the car's black, right? But the car on the screen is grey, and also the wheels are a completely different design to the ones that I've got on this actual car. Anyway, let's get this coffee. Can I get a double cheeseburger and a cappuccino, please? This is quite nice as well. In an electric car, you haven't got the exhaust running, so when you wind down the window, you don't get a whiff of your own exhaust as you drive along. That's quite cool. Lovely. Cheers, buddy. Now, interior space is not amazing. I've got 2 cup holders in here, which is great, as you'd expect. But apart from that, there's not an awful lot. You've got this weird little compartment at the front, which is probably, I would suspect, let me just confirm that, big enough for a double cheeseburger. But apart from that, the glove box, definitely not enormous. Still, it's a lovely place to sit.
After my lunch, I was fully fueled up, which felt like a good opportunity to talk about what the RS e-tron is like in terms of fuel economy, even if that fuel is electricity.
This car has a 93.4 kilowatt hour battery pack, of which 85 kilowatt hours is usable. Driving around town earlier, I was averaging about 1.9 miles per kilowatt hour, which if you do the maths, equates to around 160 miles of range. That's day-to-day driving though. How is the efficiency when you're driving at higher speeds, for example, on a motorway?
The result is not so impressive. 2.5 miles per kilowatt hour is about what you can expect realistically, although in perfect conditions, without using the aircon, you might be able to push that to 3. In other words, you can expect between 230 and 279 miles. Is that enough for a Grand Tourer? Well, maybe actually, because cruising at 60 miles an hour at that kind of range is about 4 to 4.5 hours of traveling, which is where you might want to stop for a rest and a refuel anyway.
Here's something I really like. It gives you this range bubble on the navigation, which shows you exactly how far you can drive to give you a visual representation of your range. And if you're driving beyond that, the satellite navigation system will actually work out the best charges to stop at and how much energy you'll have left at the end of your journey.
Feels
Quite clever.
good to be around so many plants.
It's not all perfect in here though. For example, you don't get an awful lot of toys. I haven't got massaging seats in a GT. You'd expect that. There's also not a ton of stuff going on in the infotainment system. There's the usual stuff like your calendar, your weather, your messages, etc. But apart from that, there really isn't an awful lot of gadgetry going on in this car. What is good though is the Bang & Olufsen sound system. That sounds really good. So if you like jamming out to tunes on a long journey, that is going to serve you pretty well. Time for another important test. How does the car feel when you want to have a little bit of fun when you drive? The RS e-tron GT has 4 different driving modes: efficiency and comfort, which are the kind of defaults when you want to extend the range and just cruise around. And then there's dynamic and individual, which are the 2 modes you're likely to engage when you want to have a little bit of fun. In dynamic, the first thing you notice is that the responsiveness of the throttle is very much increased. So I'll whack it into dynamic right now. The steering doesn't really change. It feels the exact same weight as it does in comfort and efficiency, but what does change is the ride height on the car. The air suspension drops by a couple of millimeters and you can actually feel the car tighten up. The body control is much better, not just in a corner where it does stay flat, but also on the straights. You might think that dynamic mode is quite harsh, but actually you could drive in this mode pretty much every day. I'll give you the performance figures because they are quite hilarious. 637 horsepower and 830 Newton meters of torque. Audi reckon it'll do 0 to 62 in 3.3 seconds and 155 miles an hour flat out. I know it's not part of everyday driving, but let me just indulge me for a second. I'm going to pull in, do a launch control, see what happens. It's got an onboard timer, dynamic mode selected, launch control active, foot on the brake, foot on the accelerator, head back, otherwise you'll hurt yourself, and just, oh my goodness. Yeah. So two things, the car has a 2-speed transmission, and after a certain point, you feel it change gear, believe it or not, gear changing in an electric car. The second point I want to make is that this thing will happily do 3.1, 3.2, 0 to 62s all day long, and it's pretty painful actually. The predominant feeling I have right now is nausea, to be honest. The brakes are quite interesting too. I've opted for the carbon ceramic brakes on this car. They cost £5,100 extra, but if you're doing big launches and exploiting the speed of this car, they will save your bacon, because it's 2.2 tons this car, which means that after a while, the brakes will start to fade. But with the carbon ceramics, not even a hint of fade. Really good. What's it like when you're cornering? Well, I've been lucky enough to take this car on a track once or twice, and it does throw shakes. Turn the traction off, and it will get the back end out very eagerly. It's not going to do that today, obviously, but in the bends, the car feels really nicely balanced, especially in that dynamic mode. What you notice is that the rear wheel steering system just helps the nose to tuck in more eagerly towards the entry point of a corner. You don't really get any understeer whatsoever. It's a lovely car to drive. The balance is very nice.
I just heard something interesting.
Does the lack of noise affect the driving experience negatively? Maybe if you're old school, but the RS e-tron GT does come with a sound generator, so there's always this futuristic sound coming from the car whenever you accelerate or decelerate, which does go some way to improving the experience from an acoustic point of view. It's just a really nice car to drive, that's the bottom line. If I was being really harsh, I could say that the Porsche Taycan Turbo S accelerates more violently, but you don't need more acceleration than you get in this. The steering in the Porsche is also more precise, more granular, but again, this isn't too far off. All round, it's a lovely, fun, engaging car to drive. Really like it. A very important topic to talk about with any electric car is the charging experience, and I think Audi pretty much get it right. We found ourselves at a DC rapid charger outside a supermarket. I think the first thing to do is actually to see whether it works or not, because that's part of the experience of having an EV, isn't it? Seeing whether the bloody things work. So this should be easy. Present my card. The machine should recognize it. This is what I want, CCS. I get this. And the cool thing about the RS e-tron GT is that it's got 2 charge ports, one on the left and one on the right. And the left one is for your DC rapid charger. Plug that in, hop over the cable, and is it charging? Let's see. Currently it's absorbing 0 kilowatt hours, but hopefully that will change. Here we go, some numbers are happening over here. 0.01 kilowatt hours delivered. Yeah, it seems like it's charging, doesn't it? Now, I'm currently at a 120 kilowatt charger. This is quite fast, but the car itself can accept charge at up to 270 kilowatts, which means you could go from 25 miles to 200 miles of range in around 17 minutes. Most people are going to charge up at home though from a 7.4 kilowatt wall box, and that will take you around about 9.5 hours. Now, since I am at a supermarket, let's check out the storage in the car. So I'll take you to the boot. I believe this is a 405 litre boot, which is pretty acceptable. Some of that space is taken up by quite a large charging cable, but on the whole, that is a decent amount of room. And if you go around the front, there's even more storage. To access it, you have to open the door and push the button down there. That unlocks it. And then you take yourself to the front, fiddle around a bit down here, and it opens up to give you an extra 85 litres of storage. Incidentally, I mentioned earlier that the sister car of this is the Porsche Taycan, and look there, Porsche logo. They're gonna arrest me for pointing that out. Yeah, Porsche logo. You get a free Porsche toolkit with your Audi. So yeah, not bad. One thing I forgot to mention was the cost of recharging at this particular recharging point by Shell, 79 pence per kilowatt hour. This car has an 85 kilowatt hour battery, so you're looking at about £70 to fill it up. Too much.
Of course, that isn't Audi's fault. The solution is just to stay away from extortionate rapid charges and top up at home, where a full recharge will cost you around £7 depending on your tariff. Ultimately then, the RS e-tron GT is a very likeable car, lovely to look at, great to drive in everyday life, efficient enough to take you on a 4-hour run on the motorway, and fast enough to make you feel very ill and or very scared. We'll be seeing more of this car on the channel over the coming weeks and months, but let us know what you think of it. Give us your questions down below, and we'll see you and the e-tron very soon.
One more thing, guys, if you're thinking about going electric, there's a great event coming up at Blenheim Palace. It's called EV Live between the 7th and 9th of July. You can talk to experts, drive the latest electric cars, engage in Q&As with people like me. There's food and music and games. Bring the children. I'll see you there. This is the Alfa Romeo Giulia GTAL, the fastest, most potent, most hardcore road-going Alfa Romeo there's ever been. They built this car to celebrate the 110th anniversary of Alfa Romeo. So basically, it's a super exclusive birthday present from Alfa Romeo to itself. It's also a reminder of what Alfa Romeo is all about. This is a bit of me, man. It's like a DTM car for the road. It is outrageous.
Cease now!
It's based on the standard Giulia, but with a focus on life. Tips the scales at 1,600 kilograms, 100 kilos less than the standard car, thanks to body panels, zero seats, and extensive use of carbon fiber. Aeros were given an upgrade too, thanks to work by the Sauber huge diffuser, even bigger rear wing, and numerous flicks and scoops across the bodywork.
I'll take it.
That thing you're hearing under the bonnet, that is a 2.9 litre twin turbocharged Ferrari designed V6 that makes, in this case, 540 horsepower. That's 30 horsepower more than you get in the standard
First
car.
off, I'm red, then get to the top of this cultivator.
3.6 seconds. Top speed,
I can double jump now.
90 miles an hour. But the numbers don't really do it justice, because it feels like when Alfa Romeo were designing this car, they weren't just designing a car,
I don't trust these filthy takes.
Unsurprisingly, it costs big money, £150,000, twice as much as the standard Giulia Quad. The amount you'll have to spend on tyres might add up as well.
I think we might have lost a bit of rubber there. Woo! I think we might have a problem.
Luckily, here at Morocco, Alfa's legendary test circuit, fresh rubber is never far away. But while we waited, I decided to indulge in the drag race between Alfa's GTAL race car and the standard Giulia Quad to find out what the £70,000 price difference looks like on the track.
You might have noticed I'm now in white. We had a spare GT. Let's do this. And we are moving. We had a great start, But it looks like I'm about to have a great finish. That is what horsepower will do.
That was inevitable. The GTA-M is as deranged as the Alpha badge might suggest, which, in case you hadn't noticed, depicts a snake eating a child. Well, Alpha say it depicts a human escaping triumphant from the belly of a snake, but that in itself raises questions.
How do you emerge triumphant from the belly of a snake if the snake hasn't eaten you in the first place?
The GTA-M speed was never in dispute, but of course speed isn't everything. This is an Alpha, and Alphas also have a responsibility to stir the soul. And to truly evaluate this aspect of the GTA-M's ability in the present, we need to look at Alpha's past. This is the Alpha Museum in Arese, on the outskirts of Milan. La Macchina del Tempo, the time machine. It's a monument to the company's long-standing contribution to automotive engineering and design. It's a space teeming with carefully curated icons. From the boat designs of the 1960s to the aircraft of the 1940s, Alpha has influenced not only the road, but the oceans and the skies above
Oh,
them.
I'm on the run!
For those lucky enough to visit, be sure to make a beeline for Velletri, Italian, where you find a range of stunning Alpha concepts. The aerodynamic, commissioned by a Milanese nobleman, takes center stage with its characteristic bubble design and a 4-cylinder engine mounted bizarrely inside the passenger cabin. Just adjacent is the Carabo of 1968. It was an outlier in an era dominated by cars with softer, more delicate lines. Its sharp styling and rear mid-engine 2-litre V8 gave us a glimpse of the future. It's not just the concept of legendary road cars that form a part of Alpha's heritage. Racing is also a key part of its history. The 1938 Alfetta, which won the first and second F1 championships before going on to win 47 out of the 54 races it was entered in up to 1951. And the 2-engined Primatore, the result of Alpha racing driver Enzo Ferrari founding the company's official racing department, Scuderia Ferrari, in 1929. But there's another area of the time machine that I've come specifically to see. A secret area known as Backstage, hidden away from the public gaze. Because it's here you can find the grandfather of the GTA and GTA-M, the 1965 Giulia Sprint GTA.
Oh yes, what a noise! This is the daddy, quite literally. Without this car, there would be no modern day Alpha Giulia GTA or GTA-M. This is Genesis.
This car, like the new model, was based on a standard road car, in this case a Giulia Sprint, but Alpha's racing division, Auto Delta, added an A for Allegrita, the Italian word for lightweight.
The original Giulia Sprint used heavy steel body panels, but for this, they replaced it with lightweight aluminium. It's got plastic windows, less sound deadening materials, lightweight interior, and magnesium alloy wheels. So in total, it saves over 200 kilograms over the standard car. Total weight is 745 kilograms, and it feels really light and chuckable in the corners. It does roll around a little bit. The weight transfer is borderline hilarious. The engine, meanwhile, is a 1.6 litre 4-cylinder, and in the top versions it made 170 PS. And believing that combination of lightweight and half-decent power, well, this makes for a lot of fun. I'll tell you what, this is nothing like the modern-day GTA. It might be better.
But even this creation pales in comparison to the sensational 1900 Sport Spider.
Oh, this is just sex on wheels. Pardon my French or my Italian. Yes. So picture the scene. It's 1951 and Alfa Romeo have just finished decimating the competition in the World Formula One Championships. They win the first. I'm fed up with winning. Why don't we stop racing for a bit and make a road car? Because let's face it, when the F1 champions build their road car, everybody in their now
And they did. Legions of privateers bought into private use, but also entered road races such as the Targa Florio and Millimeter.
And it feels like a racing car. Race the half. And it's surprisingly nimble. I know it's surprising. It weighs 900 kilos. So the thing feels up on its Please be careful with it. It's priceless. £2 million. Not that. But because it's a convertible, I don't mind going a bit slower. I'm just soaking up the experience. I can't tell you how good this is.
It's hard to think of many cars that stir the emotions as much as Sportfinder, but this is Alfa. So the category is deep. Years before this was born, there was another to Alfa making waves and looking cool. The 1750 GS of the 1930s.
But as cool as this thing looks and feels, it was built with serious purpose. The wings of Millimeter, historic 1,000-mile road race, is here in Italy. This is quick. It's dominating. Ferrari and Bugatti were behind their rivals in the race, but at the last moment, knocked off their headlights. Howard Martin used the front and won the race with the headlights up. Talk about speaking. The original car had the accelerator pedals in the middle. They changed it in the 60s because it was stuck so to get the grip with. And the accelerator is very sensitive. It's supercharged, so if you accelerate too hard, you send too much air into the mixture, and it backfires. It backfires a bit like that. So you've got to be really, really mindful of what you do with every single one of your limbs. But I'll tell you what, it's super rewarding. What a jeez. But that was the past. Today is a different time. Alfa Romeo is a very different company, and the GT-AM is a very different car. Its purpose isn't to win any road races. The Mille Miglia and the Targa Florio basically don't exist anymore. Its job is very different. This car's purpose is to convince people that Alfa are still a force to be reckoned with. And I'm not going to lie to you, it's got quite a job on its hands. See, I think the problem is that the older generation grew up with a whole bunch of amazing Alfa products. Everything we've just seen in the museum is so cool. The engineering, the design, the looks, the appeal. It's also easy to love. My generation grew up with Alfa products that are really a lot less interesting.
Being completely honest, Alfa has suffered decades of decline. In the late 80s, Ford squabbled for ownership of the brand before Fiat eventually took stewardship and merged Alfa with its historical rivals Lancia. But success is sporadic, with cars that were curiously emotive, tugging a million heartstrings, but failing to achieve major commercial or critical success. In fact, between 2017 and 2021, Alfa production fell from 150,000 to 44,000. Recent efforts suggest something of a renaissance of the Sonata, and of course the Junior, which in portfolio form is a reminder of what the company is truly capable of when it puts its mind to it.
With this, they're onto something. I get this, I understand this. And in the context of what I've just seen in the museum, I am most definitely feeling this.
Sadly, you can't actually buy one. Alpha built the GTA-M to celebrate its 110th anniversary, and with only 500 being made, it's unsurprising to see Alpha. But there are other cars in the lineup. The standard Giulia Quad is still a viable option for anyone looking for that high-speed Alpha fix at a more realistic budget. It's still an astonishing performance that more than holds its own. Those looking for more space, meanwhile, have the option of the Stelvio Quad, an SUV that blends performance with practicality. Ultimately, this trio is aimed at different customers, but what they all have in common is the badge.
And I'm not talking about that disturbing one with the snake who's a child either. I'm talking about the quadrifolia, the four-leaf clover. The story behind it is very interesting, so allow me to explain it to you. Now,
What's with the
legends,
spikes?
back in the early 1920s, Alpha was desperate to win an international race, but due to a combination of inexperience at the time, terrible misfortune, they didn't quite manage it. But fast forward to 1923, at the Targa Florio, they entered 4 drivers: Alberto Ascari, Enzo Ferrari, Giulio Rossetti, and Ugo Rossetti. Now, Ugo, in particular, was desperately unlucky. They called him Eterno Secondo, which is Italian for
Wonder who this
always
intelligencer
second.
is.
But to get around his bad luck, Alpha had an idea. They decided to paint a white square before the logo. Guess what? It worked. Ugo wins the race and everybody's happy. Then, fast forward to 1923, and Ugo Savocci is racing in his one. However, for some reason, somebody forgets to paint Lucky Charms on the car. Ugo crashes.
For the very next season, the bodywork of every single racing Alfa Romeo was definitely Clover. This time, Fran, one side of the square removed, remembering stickers for weight saving, and it's probably just as well there are many scattered around the car, because they might come in handy when reviewing the GTA-M in its natural state, the racetrack.
My first instinct is to compare it to other big, aggressive super saloons, particularly the Jaguar Project SV. But that thing makes 600 horsepower, which is significantly more than you get in this car. But I tell you what, 540 is still a hell of a lot to play with. There's a little bit of turbo lag when you get on the power, but as soon as it gets above, say, 3,500 RPM, the power's right there, the torque is available in spades, and the thing is just so quick.
Tell me more about what things are like in the future. What do I invent?
I'm a V8 personally, but this thing,
You know I can't really get into that, Echo. I gotta be careful not to mess everything up
on the upshift.
and tell you too
Everybody
much.
in the neighborhood. They're gonna hear you coming, trust me.
Just a hint? Just let me...
Woo! The gearbox, is it a weak link in this car? It's an 8-speed automatic. This thing is crying out for a DCT because it's just that little bit sluggish when it comes to going from, say, 3rd gear into 2nd, but it's a bit more responsive in race mode. If you can get it up to the 190 odd mile an hour top speed, apparently all of those aero bits generate a staggering 300 kilograms of downforce. But honestly, even in the tighter stuff, the car's so much fun to drive. Plenty of grip from these Michelin Pilot Sport Cup 2s. So a lot of bite from the front end, lots of feel from that front end as well. You know exactly when the car's going to run out of grip on the front axle. And there's a lot of traction from the rear when you want it. But clearly, right now, I don't want it.
It's obvious Alfa has lavished care and attention on this car's handling. The 50mm wider front and rear wheel tracks improve stability. New suspension helps the quality of the ride and effectiveness of the traction, while a large deployable front splitter helps balance front downforce with that created by the giant wing at the rear. It's clearly a labor of love.
For me though, the best thing about this car is the balance. It is superb. You can slide it for absolute days. Genuinely, I don't know if this car would deliver the fastest lap times, but it doesn't matter because what it does deliver are the smiles. It's hilariously good. I hope to God that the 500 people who are lucky enough to buy these cars actually use them rather than locking them away in a garage, gathering dust and value. Because Alfa won't do another GTA. What we need to do is to remember the past, savor it, but also cherish the moment.
The GTA M is classic Alfa, channeling the company's rich heritage but with a modern twist. It's a valuable reminder of what they're truly capable of, and importantly, that while it may have glorious days behind it, there's also potentially a very bright future ahead of it. A GTA M as it is today may never be seen again, but I for one can't wait to see what Alfa does next. Power. It's the obvious and most certain way to achieve great speed. But there is another way. Agility. In the right hands, finesse can be just as effective as brute force. They are two ends of the same spectrum.
Today, we're going to find out how those two different approaches affect both lap time and enjoyment. The first thing you notice is how refined this thing is. It's quiet in here, it's comfortable, these seats are magnificent. Speaking of seats, you also get a couple of seats in the back so you can take your friends and family along for the ride. It's far more comfortable, it's far more hospitable than the GT3. It's even got a load of toys, a nice stereo, a sat-nav, Apple CarPlay. What else is there? Oh yeah, it's massively, massively fast. That engine is an absolute beast. The amount of progress they've made between this version and the previous generation is absolutely staggering. The air intakes are bigger, the turbos are bigger, the numbers are enormous now. It will do 0 to 62 in 2.7 seconds, 205 miles an hour flat out, and a quarter mile in 10.5 seconds. Porsche have brought a nuclear weapon to a pillow fight.
It's not all big dumb power either. It uses a clever Porsche active aerodynamic system that deploys a chin spoiler and a rear wing to increase downforce to 170 kilograms, handy in the corners.
And the handling is just wonderful. People tend to say the 911 Turbo S is a bit of a one-trick pony, devastatingly quick in a straight line, but through the bends, maybe not so sophisticated, maybe not so involving, but honestly, it's the complete opposite out on a racetrack. These Pirelli P Zeros don't offer the last word in grip, but actually, that kind of helps this car's case because it is seriously playful. It's not glued down at all, it rotates so sweetly through the corners, helped of course by that rear wheel steering system, but the balance is just beautiful. It's a lot of fun, it really is. I didn't expect this, but I am enjoying this car massively. Admittedly, on the road, the power might be a bit too much to handle, but out here on a circuit, it's such a joy. on the right roads, in the right hands, the Turbo S is probably the quickest 911 money can buy.
So the case for raw power has been made, but the jury also needs to hear the case for agility. This is the GT3. Its 4-litre straight six doesn't have any turbos. This particular model has a manual gearbox, rear-wheel drive, and it makes 138 less horsepower. So in a straight line drag race, it doesn't stand a chance.
See ya! Oh my God, I've absolutely mullered it! Wow!
And yet, despite being majorly down on outright power, the GT3 is no slouch.
I pulled such a massive gap on him, look. But he's pulling it back, he's reining in. He's quicker through the bend. Hold him off, hold him off. Come on! Yes, yes, yes. No, 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 no. Oh, he's so quick through the corners. Oh no, no, there he goes. Damn it! Damn it! That thing is a weapon through the corners.
So how can it be that one 911 with less power, that's slower in a straight line, has the potential to match another 911 with a massive power advantage?
A wise man who worked for Pirelli's marketing team in the 1990s once said, "Power is nothing without control." And while both these cars have plenty of power, it's arguably the GT3 that harnesses its power most effectively.
The Turbo S has the firepower, but also plenty of creature comforts and all-wheel drive, so it's heavier at 1,715 kilograms. The GT3 is far more stripped back and is over 200 kilograms lighter. It's rear drive only, has double wishbone front suspension that makes the car stiffer and more stable, uses Michelin Pilot Sport Cup 2 tires, and of course has that huge rear wing providing plenty of downforce.
All of those minor details add up to two things: lap time and fun. Mostly fun. So, the first thing you notice about the GT3 is that it feels a lot more focused, it feels a lot more serious, it feels like a racing car. Which shouldn't come as any surprise to anyone because that's sort of what it is. It's a lot less refined than the 911 Turbo S. So the road noise is a lot more apparent. It's got a lot less sound deadening. There are a few toys inside the car, but it's nowhere near as nice to sit in as the Turbo S. But oh my God, it's good. This is what I call a 10-second car. Not because it does the quarter mile in 10 seconds, but because 10 seconds is all you need before you realize how brilliant it is. It doesn't accelerate as quickly as the Turbo S, 0 to 62 in 3.9, but it doesn't really matter because that engine is absolutely phenomenal. 4-litre, naturally aspirated flat six, and it revs to 9,000 RPM. And honestly, it really does pay to take it all the way up to the red line because peak power comes in at 8,400 RPM. Oh, and the noise. It's all induction noise too, it's beautiful. And then there's this thing down here, look at this, a manual gearbox. I'd almost forgotten how good these things are. I've driven the PDK GT3 Touring, and that's great, but oh yes, having to change your own gears, take control of the situation. Doesn't get much better than that, I tell you. Woo! The steering in Porsches is always brilliant. It's right up there alongside McLarens and Lotuses, but steering in the GT3 has just been taken to another level. Now, that's partly down to the fact that it's not all-wheel drive, so the front end is uncorrupted by the front wheels having to accelerate as well as steer. But it's also down to the fact this car has rear wheel steer, so it is just locked on like a laser through the bends. The GT3 is also the first road-going Porsche to use double wishbone front suspension taken from the GT3 Cup car, and that just takes things to a whole other level. It definitely does feel more sophisticated and also just more accurate. The front end, particularly in the Turbo S, moves around so much, but in this, it's not going anywhere. You point it and it delivers. And then there are the tyres, Michelin Pilot Sport Cup 2s, essentially a street legal racing tyre. And the difference in grip is night and day between these cars. And then there are the brakes, carbon ceramics, just like we had on the Turbo S. They're actually 10 millimeters smaller than the Turbo S, but I don't think it matters because this car is lighter. So in conjunction with the tyres, the stopping power is just outrageous. Over the bumps, wow. It does beg the question though. The Turbo S has way more power, but with its fancy tyres and fancy suspension and fancy downforce, is the GT3 as fast? Well, I don't know, but I do know a way to find out.
This is Adam. Adam is a racing driver. He's had over 150 races over a 10-year career, 30 career victories, including at the Nürburgring, and 3 championships, including the VLN GT4. What this man doesn't know about racing isn't worth knowing at all.
Have you had a drink?
Just tripping. How are we doing?
Good, yeah. Have you driven Landau before?
Only the kart circuit. I've been here, I don't know, 15 years ago maybe.
So that's a no?
That's a no, yes.
Okay, well, you're still probably going to be slightly better at this than me. Just, what did you drive here today?
In a Renault Clio 197. It's what I use for coaching and teaching. I've got dual control in it, so braking and clutching and passenger side. I've got data log and video in it. It's used and abused around most UK circuits.
I don't have dual controls in this, but I do have a little parking brake.
Do not pull that. It's a turn 1.
All right, good. Take it away, professional.
How do we turn it on?
On a racing car, you have teams of people to do this for you, but
Yeah.
it's a road car, so there you go. This is a great start, isn't it?
Getting serious. Gloves on.
All right, let's do a rolling start then. So,
oh, sounds racy.
Sport Plus. Okay, so you've remembered to turn left. That's
Yeah, which one do you want to be quicker? We'll just go straight through the bus stop.
It's being a racing driver a bit like riding a bike, like where even if you haven't really driven the track, it's like riding a horse.
Like right now, I'm just scanning it. Like down here, it looks really bumpy. So like in my head, I'm thinking I'm going to be braking around now.
I'd brake a lot earlier than that, mate.
And then, am I allowed to use the curb?
Yes, do whatever you want. Let's go. Full beans. Your lap starts now. Got to nail this braking point. Oh, it's bang on. Good lad. Right. Try and maintain the speed through the corners. That is where the Turbo S is going to lose out. Oh, it's rotating already. I can feel it. Go on, go on, go on. Oh, we're doing great. We're doing great. This is the tricky one right here.
That was better.
That is great. It's so quick in a straight line. Braking point. Full use to the curbs. Oh, mate. All action, all action. Last one now, make it count. Oh, perfect.
Oh, no.
That is perfect. Foot to the floor and bang. Whoa.
Yeah. That
Wow.
felt good. That felt good.
Wow. I don't think you left anything on the table there.
No, like actually, over this, like we definitely took off going over that curb, and it landed in like the perfect yaw, and it just almost twisted all the way around this section. Really nice.
No, it was. I mean, that was. I don't know if I've seen a car go faster around this circuit. So, should we jump in the GT3?
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Right, so you don't know the time you have to beat, but I know it. I just don't know whether you'll do it. but we're gonna find out.
We'll try.
Which car do you want to be faster, or do you just not care?
To me, it doesn't make any difference, but I think this will be quicker. Wow, this is a lot stiffer.
All right, here we go, building up to it. On the last bend, foot to the floor, and your lap starts now. Still massively quick in a straight line there. Oh, that is neat. It's all about patience through this little sector, using the curbs. It rides the curbs so nicely, doesn't it? Already feels much neater, much more tidy than the Turbo
that
S.
was good.
Not as quick in a straight line though. Not as frightening. Oh, serious aggression over the curbs. A little bit of a rotation there, final corner coming up.
Oh no!
Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. Keep it flat, keep it flat. Bang! Wow! Well.
That felt good.
Well.
So, the speed, like obviously having the manual is really satisfying.
Yeah.
And this is a lot more nimble, but it's so much stiffer that over the curves through the first bus stop, it bounces a bit too much, whereas the other one swallows the curbs a bit nicer.
So the Turbo S rides nicer, you say?
Over the curbs, it just swallows the curbs, whereas this one bounces off them a bit.
Yeah.
And I think through that bus stop it was worse, but through this one, this felt better. I felt like it could attack, but you heard the impact of the curb. Going through that fast chicane at the end.
That cost you time?
No, it didn't. It just the noise of it was just like not a shock.
No, it was aggressive.
It's definitely noticeable. It felt good though. Like you can't replace a manual.
It was bloody good. The thing is though, manuals are meant to be slower. So,
yeah. Well, like modern technology now is they know when to shift at the optimal time, and of course there's more chance of driver error with the H pattern gearbox.
That's why I got you along.
This has got the auto blip, which is beautiful. So like if I accelerate now, when I go down a gear, it just blips on its own and it's synchronized so nicely.
Yeah. I think the lap was sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah? Happy with it?
Yeah. I think I don't think I can really get any more out of that.
Okay. Well, let's head in then and we'll talk about it. Wow. I will say, not bad for your first time around Landau. Which one do you think was faster and which one do you think was more fun?
I'm going with the Tractoy for the lap time, but I enjoy chucking this thing around.
Really?
And
This thing is absolutely deranged. Is with the traction
relentlessly fast.
Yeah. Deranged. It's a maniac.
This is.
That, by the way, is with the. Got to warm the tires up. That, by the way, is with the traction control on, but this car also has line lock. I think they're warm enough. It's coming through the vents. I can't actually see the track, and I don't think you can see me either. So I'm just gonna wait. All right. Launch control. Window up. Smoke out. Kilometers per hour on the brakes. Yeah, they work. They work. My God.
Get to help more animals? Do I still have that ugly sweater Red made for me?
Yeah, I still have that sweater.
Okay.
And Lem does help more animals. But he'll help a lot of kids too. So will Rungs. Ellie and Axe go on to have a lot of adventures. Okay, that's it. No more out of me.
All right. Red's careful around all these ponies. Gotta stay sharp here. they purposefully build this place like a playground? Interesting garden design choice. Maybe red's up here. What was that? Things can never just be calm and normal, can they? Oh, there she is. Red's not wrapped up in this Syntixi business too, is she? I didn't realize Red liked cultivars so much. Red, what are you doing?
Hey, Echo! I'm hanging out with some of the Inks. You should come in. You can...
Oh, okay.
Don't worry, the guards won't bother. That's Chad.
Who's this?
This is my, friend, Echo.
Hey.
Hey, couldn't find a mirror?
Oh, that's just his look.
What brings you guys up here?
We came up to check out the view of the city. You know, after the spire burned.
The shattered glass is...
That's...
You can see all the fires better.
Sure.
Have I seen you around before? Real mysterious guy you brought.
Echo is an inventor.
Oh, yeah? Anything?
Probably not. You know, like little gadgets and toys made from scraps.
Right. Cool. Well, we really don't do stuff like that.
Great. Well, I've actually got to run. Nice seeing you, Red.
Actually, Red's gonna be hanging out with us.
Okay.
Bye, Echo.
Wow. What a dick. Where to go but up and out of here? Ah, back in the city air. What the?
Based on your reaction, you don't seem to know who I am.
Oh, no. I definitely know a Pilty when I see one.
Ah, what charming deductive reasoning. I am the principal intelligencer of Clan Feros of Piltover.
Can we skip this? What do you want with me?
Certainly. Time waits for no one. Except you, Echo.
Am I a man of mystery?
On the contrary, Clan Feros is the largest proprietor of Hextech crystals and technology in all of Runeterra.
Why haven't you come after me sooner then?
Until this moment, you've been nothing but a mild distraction.
Go.
Terminate your...
I see. Well, a clever child with a tempo...
I don't believe... Precision is paramount. Come here, little essence. You're dragging this out. Fear not, this will be painless for me. You cannot escape me. You're dragging this out!
I'll take it.
I see you've met Camille.
Camille! Yeah, I've met Camille!
2 echoes.
What? No, he's not.
It is plain to see you've managed to invent a method to...
She's good.
What are you looking...
Investigating Syntixi crystals.
Why are you telling her our plan?
The Poindextrus created Syntixi by supercharging our Hextech crystals. Clan Feros.
Actually, they've been gathering up...
Affirmative.
What?
Well, we all want the same thing.
The Poindextrus...
Consider it done.
You will find Syntixi being loaded into the Poindextrus sea...
You've got to be kidding me! She's a Pilty!
Yeah, who just gave us a good tip about the crystals. Alliances aren't bad, Echo. I'll call you once I've located it.
Sargon asked if I was working with Clan Pharos. And now I guess I don't like where this is going. Guess I could catch up on a few things while Future Echo looks for the chain crawler. Maybe my friends can tell me more about Camille too. I just don't trust her. Hey, what
collect.
Keep your
Camille, eh?
Echo.
It's how do you it's anyway.
Looking for a change? Never hurts to add a little more texture. Fashion is art, movement, and architecture, all in one. All the best trends start in Zon.
Back so soon. Oh. Always glad. To see you, Echo.
Here, Echo, try this. I trust them too. They're very...
Found the chain crawler, and it's on the move. Head west. There's an opening to the tunnel you can drop right into.
All right. I'm on my way.
Sure, it's a good. We'll get you there, Echo. After I'm done with you, I can show you a few things.
Let's hope the Clanferros, the most entitled people in all of Zon and Piltover. The truth has a way of finding me. Piltover and Zon. There's some stories there.
I can show you a few moves.
What's next?
Let me see.
Hi there, Echo. I'm going to tell your parents what a kind young man you are. Don't go get... into trouble on my behalf now.
Hey, I can... Yeah, sure. Are you sure? Made it onto the chain crawler. Now to find the Syntaxis stash. Yeah, I've got this. Stop this train immediately!
We had a feeling you'd show up and try and...
What are you talking?
You want... Have...
Get in. Yeah! Great! What did you do? Lot of Syntixi here. Lot of Syntixi here. So this is definitely a trap.
He got it right away. Clever, clever.
Clever. Just
Weird. What's
You're not very good at this. We should have told you the rules first.
Here they are. We smack around until we're bored. Or until you're dead. Whichever comes first. That's not fair, Echo! You're ruining everything!
At least one good thing can come from those twins. Oh, this one's gonna be fun.
onto the chain crawler. Where are you?
Almost at the end of this thing.
Same. I'll meet you there. Then we can
Get everything back on track. Sorry, it's been a long ride.
Think you can beat me?
Now make this look easy.
Great work. This isn't all the Syntixi the Poindexter. Okay, well, we... No, that's fine. Can't even focus now. You gonna grow up sometime? Never, I didn't say that. I'm better off on my own. You're not helping.
I'll take it.
I'm sorry.
Wait a second.
Echo, I'm sorry.
You're just gonna destroy everything.
You need to stop thinking you're on your own.
This isn't open. How do I explain to my friends that my future self is planning to let off a Sintixi bomb in the city? I can't tell them about Future Echo. Sorry, Mr. Revik.
It's about those kids who are...
Sure. Your daughter's lucky to have you.
Hi there, Echo. I'm going to tell your parents what a kind young man you are. Echo, how do you do it? Always glad to see you, Echo.
Hey, Echo.
Yeah.
Sure.
Right. I'm glad.
Whatever.
Thanks, Ellie.
I know the twins aren't nice, but can't find dads this good anywhere else.
Hey, Echo, why so glum, Chuck?
Just...
I'm on my way to catch the ink show.
You know, I'm not...
This is the... Oh, wait.
Echo!
Yeah. Hey, Rung, it's...
Sure, look after you.
Yeah.
I'm waiting on you, man. Nice. I can show you a few moves.
Axe.
The
I'll see you soon.
The Poindexter twins have quite the stories about them. Zahn has a lot of secrets. Piltover and Zahn. There's some stories there.
Ooh, what have you got this time?
All right, what's up?